Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Andrea with the Life Force Energy Podcast, where it's all about healing. Today, we have a phenomenal guest that's coming to share some healing knowledge with us. Her name is Michele Johnson. She's called the Pain-Free PA. She's a physician's assistant certified. She also has her master's in health science. So she has a wealth of knowledge from her professional side as well as her personal side. Now, Michele Johnson, PAC, like I said, she's a certified family medicine physician assistant. She's a certified professional life coach, specializing in stress reduction as a form of healing. Engaging speaker and author of the international bestseller, Pain Free: How to Live a Full Life Despite Chronic Pain. As a fibromyalgia and chronic pain warrior for nearly 2 decades, Michele's self-help memoir focuses on healing the wounds of invisible illness through the holistic health techniques she learned in her practice of Western medicine, as well as her study abroad in China and Cuban health systems. As the pain-free PA, she trains clients in releasing the stress that's making them sick, helping them to regain their body, their energy, and their time. That is awesome. I love it. And regaining your
Hey,
energy is exactly what the Life Force Energy podcast is all about. Welcome, welcome, Michele.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Andrea. Thank you guys for listening to this incredible podcast because this is what it's all about healing.
Absolutely. It's all about healing. So let's jump into your journey. Like, what brought you to the place where you are now, where you're writing this information, you're doing speaking, you're doing online courses and helping a lot of people. What brought you to this? What's your journey?
Well, I have to say, a lot of people start talking about when they were a child and all that. I usually start my story at age 23
Okay.
when I was sitting in the disability office,
Mm-hmm.
waiting for them to tell me whether or not I would be approved for help from the government, y'all. When you're disabled, um, it can be really tough to support yourself financially. And
Yeah.
so I had just been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is a daily chronic pain disease. I was crawling out of my bed in the morning to get to the bathroom.
Wow.
And when I started to fall asleep on the road between stoplights going to work,
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was time to get help. And after my diagnosis and being told, Michele, you'll never dance again, um,
Wow.
I said, well, I guess I'm disabled. And the look that the woman gave me in the disability office, you know that look,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't look sick.
Condescending.
Look, I
Wow.
was 23 years old. I had a dancer's body. And
Mm-hmm.
I knew when she looked at me and asked me those questions that even though I really was disabled, that I wasn't going to get that help.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got that letter 2 weeks later saying, denied, I sat and I, of course, broke down.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I just thought, well, what can I do? And when I tell you I have one of those mothers who would say things to you that just stick with you, my
Mm-hmm.
mother used to say, baby, remember, you can always pick yourself up, brush yourself off,
Mm.
and start all over again.
I love that.
And so, with that mantra in mind, I started to figure out, well, what resources do I have available to me? I went back to school. I said, I'm going to go into medicine because maybe they'll understand what it's like to need a day off sometimes.
Yes.
And going into eye care first, I worked my way up to uh, a degree in public health and then my master's as a physician assistant, taking it one day at a time with some of the techniques that I now teach my clients. And
Mhm.
so it has been an incredible journey from being disabled to now being able to work full time, own a business, um, be a wife and a mom
Wow.
and still have energy.
That's an
So,
incredible story, and it makes you a phenomenal woman who has empowered yourself and who's taken your health and your life in your hand. It takes tremendous strength to do that, and even to go into medicine so that you can learn more. And after helping yourself, now you can help so many other people. That is phenomenal. And I tell you what, I've never experienced fibromyalgia, but as a chiropractor, my specialty is that I get a lot of patients with it. And I
mhm,
never look at them as if they don't have, just because it can't be registered on some medical device, just because you
right.
look a certain way, doesn't mean you don't feel pain. And I experience pain myself in different ways. And a lot of mine was more emotional things. And
Mm,
so that's invisible. People will be like, you're not, you could be in a lot of mental, emotional pain, but it's not
yes,
visible to the eye. So I like that you bring out that point about invisible pain and those invisible wounds so that people can understand that they are absolutely not alone in their process.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now you have your book, phenomenal. There was a one thing that stuck out to me, and it's called Ugly Stress in chapter 7. I
Yes,
love
ma'am.
that. Yeah. So it said you talked about stress and what it does to the body and its function. So tell us about that.
I call it ugly stress because I don't know that the general public knows this, but about 77%, that's nearly 80%, y'all, of doctors' visits and reasons that people come into the medical office are
Hmm.
actually stress related and stress exacerbated illness.
Wow.
This is not a statistic from me. This is from the National Stress Institute. And this was in 2016.
Wow. So we know in 2021, it's probably at that 80 and above.
This was before the pandemic. This
Wow.
was before
Right.
George Floyd. This
Right.
was before the attacks on Asians in the street.
Hmm.
So imagine where our stress level is now.
Hmm. Hmm.
And what I started to notice before I even read that statistic is in my exam rooms, when I would go and I would talk to patients, um, my nurses would have 3 boxes of tissues, a
Mm.
highlighter, and a pen in each room for me because they knew that by the end of the day, at least 4 of my patients would cry with me.
Mm.
And the reason was because we got to the root of why they were there.
Mm.
It wasn't this cough. It wasn't my hair's falling out. Why is your hair falling out? Why are your digestive system and you're constantly having heartburn or not able to poo or having diarrhea like crazy? It's all the effects of stress. Now, don't get me wrong, there's absolutely incredible and very interesting disease out there.
Hmm.
But what
Sure.
I'm saying is that stress compounds and puts pressure on the weakest link.
Hmm.
And so it's
Hmm.
so important. And
So
that's why I say it's ugly. It is necessary, right? We have to have some stress. But that ugly, toxic, chronic stress is making us sick.
it's making us sick. And we do have to have some stress. And the key is in learning how to manage it, learning how to
Yes.
process. And I love to talk about processing your emotions. One thing that you said is about the root. One of the reasons I became a chiropractor because we do, most of us, more natural, holistic healing. And as a physician's assistant, I love hearing that from you, that you get to the root cause of the problem and the fact that you have patients leaving your office and they come to a point of tears and you're crying with them. You have really went deep. You're not just treating them as a number. You're not writing some script on a paper, and you're not treating just the symptom. Why is your hair falling out? Why
Mm,
do you have diarrhea? And I always tell my patients and my clients that unprocessed stress and unhealthy emotions have to manifest somewhere.
somewhere.
You don't deal with it. And so your cells are listening, your organs are listening, And so it's a feedback mechanism. I really love hearing you say about getting to the root of the problem.
Absolutely. People don't necessarily think about it this way. They think about your mind as your brain,
Hmm.
but your mind is in every cell of your body.
Wow.
So just like you just said, is a feedback, right? There's communication between
Hmm.
every single part of our body. So for you to think, oh, I'm up all night, I'm thinking about something over and over again, I can't sleep.
Hmm.
To think that that does not affect your body.
Right. Right. And that's so key for bringing people back to the mind body connection. It's not just your mind is over here, your body is over here, it's all together. And it's a
Yes.
holistic process and a healing journey. So, having someone like you that's out here giving that message is a huge turnaround because you know what? Patients are saying, I'm tired of just taking medicines.
Yes.
And I've had patients on 10 different medications and they don't even know why. And they're
Mercy.
still sick and they're getting sicker and all of these things. So this is the processes that you've learned for yourself and for your patients. That is so huge. And I love the fact, I know that you have written your book and I know that you are also having some group courses online. Is that right?
Absolutely. So when I wrote my book and people were like, Michelle, you have chronic pain. Why are you named the pain-free VA? It's because I was able to learn how to live my life despite chronic pain.
Despite.
Despite, and that's what makes it free.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it free. And so what I'm trying to help people to unearth is that you're not broken,
Mm.
you're not hopeless. You have something that is affecting your body, but what can we control?
Mm-hmm.
What can we go after? And when I get to the root of it, it's our stress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So even with chronic pain, I talk to people with autoimmune diseases like lupus, multiple sclerosis. We can take 50 medications,
Mm-hmm.
or we can manage our stress, our anxiety, the family relationships, the toxic stress from when we were a kid, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe take 10 medications.
Powerful, powerful. And when we look at it from that holistic view, and the fact that you're mentioning the word free, because another thing that we're right on the same wavelength here. Because another thing that I often say is, do not succumb to the label or the diagnosis.
Mm,
Don't make
yes,
identity, my fibromyalgia, my diabetes. No, it's something that you are experiencing in your body that's a feedback, but then you can be free and still live your life despite that, rather than letting
yes.
that hold you back.
Come on.
This is really, really good. Now, I'm going to jump to chapter 9. That
Okay.
jumped out for me. And in chapter 9, you talk about finding your tribe. And you had a quote from Dirk Wittenborn, and it says, "We are the sum of all the people we have ever met. You change the tribe, and the tribe changes you."
That quote was so powerful to me
Mm-hmm.
because I think sometimes, especially those of us with invisible illness or stress and anxiety, we tend to go off to ourselves.
Yes.
We
Isolate.
want to handle it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for some of us culturally, I
Mm-hmm.
think about being in an African American household and talking to several of my Black patients that, you were taught to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
You were taught to never let them see you sweat.
Mm-hmm.
You were taught to take care of everybody else
Yes. Especially as women,
except for you,
except for you.
except for you.
Mm.
And so not only do we have to deal with the ugly stress, we have to get people around us that we can lean on when we can't stand.
Mm.
that can help push us or take over a task for us so that we're not out here doing it alone.
Mhm. Powerful.
So many are suffering in silence.
Mhm.
And I want to talk to you, sis. I want
Yeah.
to talk to you, bro,
Yes.
that your tribe changes you. Every business opportunity, every incredible thing that I share in my book about my life came because of a network connection someone has introduced me to.
Mm.
So I don't I don't see how people do it alone. But if you've been doing it alone, imagine the magnitude that you will impact if you had a tribe.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot of it is cultural. And
Yeah.
I've experienced that myself because, for one thing, in our culture, if we are trained to be strong and to just get over it, just move on. And a
Yes.
lot of that is not, it's just some survival methods that we've had to use in the past. But now we can heal and go into more thriving. But when you learn that and you're surrounded by people who that's what it's about, it's hard to feel like, that there are people or there is a tribe that would actually, genuinely support you in that and actually believe in your wounds and your challenges and be able to lift you up when you can't stand without making a mockery of it. So
Yes.
I think the challenge is finding the tribe, but finding healthy tribes. And I know that you have a group, a tribe. I also have a tribe that I'm starting. And recently, for myself, I've started joining other tribes. And so that's why that quote jumped out to me when you said that your tribe changes you and you change. It is a huge thing to make that connection that's healthy of having people that support you and people that cheer you on.
Yes.
That's just a phenomenal thing to experience. And like you, I just admonish anyone that's listening, find your tribe, connect with someone, with a group of people that's experiencing some of the things that you're experiencing, and let them support you, let them love you, and watch how your life begins to change.
Now, I have to say this part about tribes too, because
Mhm.
um, I remember when I first was diagnosed and they had these message boards. This was back in the early days of the internet, y'all, 20 years
Okay.
ago. But what happened is sometimes we get into a tribe where everything is about the illness.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And if we're always focused on what's going wrong or what hurts or what bad encounter I had with the doctor, hello, or what my friend said,
Mm-hmm.
hello, it's really tough to get positive results out
Yeah,
of a constantly negative situation.
that's
So
a
I put that caveat in there
mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
it's not just support. You want people to challenge you and move you forward too. We don't want to just sit in the stress. We
Right.
don't just want to sit in the dis-ease.
Right. We want a tribe that can support our growth and expansion.
Exactly.
That's huge that you brought that up because I've left the tribe before because of that. I began to feel, whoa, you just feel heavy or stuck. And you don't want to be in a place that allows you to continue to identify with your illness or your problem, allows you to play the victim. You do want to be pushed to grow and expand, but you want to be pushed in a loving and healthy way. So
Right.
I'm so glad that you brought up that point. So key. Now, what do you have for as far as like testimonials for your patient success stories? Give us one or two success stories of someone that you worked with. Um,
Okay.
how they came out.
Absolutely. I'll give you two. I'll give you a patient and a client
All right.
because
Perfect.
I work, of course,
Both
in
sides.
medicine still, and I work as
Mhm.
a certified life coach. In medicine, one of my clients, I'll never forget this woman. And of course, this is health information. We're not going to share any names or identifying information. Hello, HIPAA, don't nobody catch me.
Right.
Uh, so this patient um, came to my office with her husband, and it was kind of a forced visit. She
Mm-hmm.
was forced to take labs to continue working.
Mm-hmm.
And this poor woman, her diabetes numbers were off the charts. If you're familiar with an A1C, A1C in diabetes considered controlled if it's under 7. Hers was at 12.8.
Wow. Wow.
And this woman had chronic pain just like me. And she told me, she says, Michele, I've done everything. I've talked to specialists. I've been to this doctor, that doctor. Nobody can get my diabetes under control. Nobody can get my pain under control. So let's just go through these numbers and get on with this visit.
Mm. So she had given up.
And when I tell you the power of listening and the power of connection, I put my hand on this lady's knee and I said, you know, I know what it's like to be in pain every day. And I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that I'm the smartest person that you've ever met to look at your case. But I will listen to you and work with you, and we will do the very best we can.
Powerful.
And she started bawling in my office. That was step one, because we had to find out where all this backstory was. She
Mm-hmm.
didn't trust doctors. She felt like there was no help for her. When I tell you, in 8 months, her A1C was down to 6.3.
Wow.
I didn't mention weight loss because that wasn't an important factor. It was getting
Mm-hmm.
her diabetes under control, right? But she did lose some weight.
Mm-hmm.
She started her own at home business.
Wow.
She started making income that she could be proud of. And it was in something that made her feel beautiful.
Mm.
She is no longer a patient of mine, but she still reaches out to me because she said that that moment in that chair changed her life forever because somebody listened to her.
Mm.
So that's one success story, right? And I'm so proud of her
Yeah.
because all it took was somebody listening to her and she did the work, right? I didn't do the work, she did the work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, clients, one of my clients, and I love to talk about clients who have odds against them because, we all have our stories, but when you hear a story from woe to woe, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, how did that happen? I could do it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a client who is a young woman. She's in her early 30s and is diagnosed with fibromyalgia. She's in school full time getting a graduate degree and is just so busy. Busy taking care of school, busy taking, we're all such type A. We're trying to chase the bag. We're trying to
Right.
get success. We're trying to go to the next class, right? And there was so much clutter in her mind that there was no room to even know who she was.
Mm.
We devised a customized self-care routine. We got her to a point where she was able to reconnect her mind and her body. So she has significantly less pain. She has a thriving schedule now that schedules in self-care. So now she is the priority so that she can serve everyone else.
Mm. Mm.
And that changes the trajectory of your life when you learn who you are, how to fill you up, because then you can serve from your overflow. Like Lisa Nichols like, serve from the overflow.
Yes. Yes.
So those are my two.
Yeah, those are awesome, and I know that you have many more. And to have someone along my healing journey, the people, anyone that helped me was someone that listened.
Mm.
So if you're wanting to help somebody and if you're doing all the talking and you know everything and you don't take the time and not to just listen as an act, but really listen to this person, because through that you were able to help both of these women prioritize themselves in their lives. And as women, and especially as Black women, we can think that that's selfish, and others can
Mm.
have us believe that it's selfish
Yes.
because it's outside of the norm and the traditions. It's actually not selfish, because that first woman, here she is now in her own business that's serving other people because she
Exactly.
came from her place of empowerment and healing and wholeness, prioritizing herself. And the same with the other woman. And so I think this is so huge. And I love that example of the overflow. And I always love to talk about how when Jesus said it, my
Yes.
cup runneth over. He had people, that would say, this is happening, and I'll be there in a couple of days. The boat is sinking. It's all right. I'm gonna take a nap. Because he knew he couldn't do anything, any miracles, anything, unless he was coming from the overflow. And that's something,
Mm.
a great point to drive home for us, as women, as men, on people that are feeling overwhelmed and you're sick, you're tired, you're not taking care of yourself. You cannot serve, you cannot reach your highest potential, you cannot reach your purpose, and therefore you're not going to be able to help. When we came here for that, but we have to serve from the overflow. And it
Yes,
sounds
ma'am.
like to me, as the pain-free PA, and with your messages and everything, that the gifts that you're sharing, that's exactly what's happening. You're teaching and retraining people not only how to heal and take care of themselves, but do it from the overflow.
Yes, ma'am. It's
And
so important.
so important. And it's absolutely not selfish.
And we forget, right? So we have to be reminded. I
Mhm,
don't want anyone listening to think that, once this happens and you're rocking and rolling and you're serving from your overflow, that that's the end, right? Because
mhm,
challenges come up all the time that we have to remind ourselves to get back on that healing journey. It's like the layers of an onion. It's not
mhm.
all or nothing. You're going to do a little bit at a time. Every new level you come to is a new level of growth and a new level of healing.
Love that. Like peeling an onion. You have a layer and you never arrive.
That's
I know
right.
that's one thing that helped me is getting to that. I had you never, until you die, there's going to be a layer of healing or a place that you can grow and expand. And once you surrender
Yes.
to that life work and you connect with tribes and you connect with other people that have courses and tools and things to help you, and you just realize it's just the work and it's lifetime. One thing that jumps out for me, that's coming from you, is so much compassion. And for me, that's been a key word. I had a podcast a few weeks ago that came up, and it came up in conversation with some friends and then in my tribe that I'm in. And it just kept coming up. And I realized that it was definitely for me, to go to another level in
Mm,
compassion, not for others, but for myself, for myself.
please.
Yeah. And
Yes.
so when you talked about healing in layers and things, don't be hard on yourself and try to rush the process. And I should be here and I shouldn't. No, just have some compassion for where you are, for the circumstances of your life. I like to say, wherever you are is perfect. Given all the
Mm,
circumstances of your life, that it just is what it is and it's perfect. Now you can grow from
yes.
there. And that self-compassion is something that I'm starting to just like hone in on more, for myself.
Good
And I
for
see
you.
and I see that just beaming from you.
Well, thank you. I definitely believe in self compassion. It wasn't always this way.
Hmm.
For many of us, we learn this, right? Because we have listened to the whole world and the messages of the world. There's just this hustle, 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 go, go mentality. There's a pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Hmm.
And sometimes it can get lost of
Hmm.
that voice inside of you actually telling you what it is that you want.
Mm. Yes.
So have some compassion on yourself that, hey, you have this lot of noise around you,
Mm-hmm.
and you maybe haven't had the opportunity yet to listen to that voice inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So be compassionate to her. Be
Yes.
compassionate to the little her.
Yes. That's so huge. That's so huge. I had and we do we will go through life and never even stop, because if you're trained to be a nurturer and that everybody else is more important, you don't even know your own voice, your own inner voice. And I remember at a point, I was making a decision of doing something that someone wanted me to do. And it would have taken a lot of time and energy and even some money and things. And it's someone that I loved. But for one of the first times, this was a while ago, where, because I've been learning meditation and how to listen. And I really said, because when you're in the momentum and the pattern of just jumping and moving,
Yes,
someone you never listen. But I really sat and listened. It took a few days. What did I really want and need? What was best for me? And I could, you can feel it, you can hear it. It's when you have that connection of
hmm,
no, don't go, don't do that. This is not a good time. That's not what you need. It's not going to be good. And from that place, I shed a tear, because that was one of the first times that I actually listened to myself and didn't just
wow,
move. And that little key can decrease a lot of depression, anxiety, insomnia, anger. Because sometimes we're angry and don't even know why,
yes,
because you haven't, that's your inner self saying, you're not even listening to me and
exactly,
taking care of yourself.
exactly.
Yes. So, Michele, the pain free PA, is there anything else that you give us a tip or something? Because I know you have a toolbox full of things, but just a little tidbit of something for someone who wants to, take better care of themselves, especially someone who's dealing with chronic pain, whether it's mental, emotional, whether it's spiritual, that they can start to move in the right direction of healing.
You're right. I do have so many tools that I've learned over the years and that I teach. Um, I think when you're starting this journey,
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest tips that I could give, and I'm having to relearn this myself all the time, is that awareness of self and what self actually wants is the birthplace of healing.
Mm, love it.
So you really cannot go after your dream. You cannot know what your definition of success is. You cannot help impact anybody else if you don't know you.
Yes.
So you mentioned meditation and being able to listen to your own voice. Meditation and hypnotherapy have been powerful
Mm,
healers for me during this time of COVID, even.
mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I mentioned my fibromyalgia, but like I said, it's always a journey, right? And
Yes.
during this time in COVID, I was rush going, trying to make stuff happen with my life, the business, my family. And I lost 45 pounds in 5 months.
Oh, wow.
The doctors were like, oh my God, you have Crohn's, you have celiacs, you have cancer. My father died of gastric cancer at 54. My
Mm,
grandfather died of colon cancer. My uncle died of pancreatic cancer. So we thought I had cancer.
wow.
But even with the doctors not being able to diagnose that illness, because I still don't have an answer,
Mm-hmm.
I had to go back to who is me? How do I live full out as the real me, going after what I really want authentically? It was listening to me.
Mm, powerful. And I love how you said that that is the birthplace of healing, of
It's the
true inner.
starting point.
Yeah. That's powerful for starting out with that. Awesome. So now, before we go into close, I want to give you a couple fill in the blanks. Then
Okay, I'm
will
ready.
get some more of that knowledge from you. The first one is, to me, life force energy means.
To me, life force energy means that there is a connection and a spirit that goes between all of us that share life together. There is a connection between me and you, between me and your audience, between them and every other living creature. That there is an energy that is all made up of the same stuff and we share it.
Love that. Love that. If I truly want to be the healthiest and highest version of myself, I will.
You already know what I'm going to say.
We can
You
never
already
say
know what I'm
too
going to
many
say.
times.
I'm going to say, if you want to be the truest and healthiest version of yourself, you have to know yourself.
Yes. And listen to yourself.
You have to listen.
Yes.
It's a skill.
hmm Sometimes we need to hear it more than once to drive it home. Hmm. And my greatest hope for this audience is.
My greatest hope for this audience is that they can identify what things are moving them forward and what things are holding them back from the greatest possible potential in life.
Mm, love that. Removing the blocks.
Nobody wants to die with their champion in them, right? We don't want to pass on and have left what was given to us to give the world.
Right.
So if we haven't done it yet, then we need to get busy being that person.
Love it. Very
So
powerful.
let's knock out the stress and go do it,
I got the stress and go through it. That is powerful. And then on that note, you have a couple free gifts to share with the audience and with our listeners. It's all about healing, and you heal through the aspect of decreasing stress, of managing stress, and figuring out the root cause of it. Because of that, you have a free stress assessment. And then
Yes.
there's a free consultation with you, 15-minute consultation with Michele Johnson, the pain-free PA. If you want to start to get to the root of some issues that you're having, and also if you want to do the stress assessment. So these links are going to be posted below the video, so you can reach out to her at any time. And then you can also connect with Michele Johnson, the Pain Free PA, on Facebook, at Pain Free PA, on Instagram, the Pain Free PA, and then her website is thepainfreepa.com. And then her email is also going to be listed below the post. So you have many avenues. Just get connected with her on social media. And then if you feel like you want a personal touch, schedule that consultation, or even take the free assessment and see where you are and what your needs might be. And then I'm sure that Michele will reach out and be more than happy to touch bases with you and see how she can help you.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that free assessment does have resources in it too. So it's not just questions, you have things to guide you to, hey, where do I learn how to meditate? Where do I learn about mirror work? So there are free resources in there for you to start on your journey right now.
Cool. Awesome, awesome. And then also the book link, I will post that as well on Amazon if you want to read the book. Phenomenal. So there's endless amounts of information and resources coming from Michele. So take advantage of those. Reach out to her. We are going to close now. This was a wonderful podcast. Thank you so much, Michele, for coming on. You have so much love, compassion, and then the knowledge that you share, I'm sure it's going to help many, many people. So I'm honored that you came on to share on the Life Force Energy podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Bye bye.